Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. I'm excited today, day 83 out of 90, which you all know means next Friday is day 90, which is so crazy. Like 90 days, we made it, and we're all going to be heading to Kentucky, which I am so excited for that growth. I'm excited to see all of you and hug all of you and get back in action. I had to miss an event or two. And so to keep it short so that we can dig into, action steps for the weekend. Like I said, I know we've given you so much content over the last 83 days, and there's so much we can kick in and start doing. So today I want to talk about growth mindset. I know as we've been going, I talk about mindset a lot, and I think it's just because I've seen in my own life and my own business and my own relationships how much it matters. But I think maybe sometimes we don't talk about, what it is to get there, or sort of what really is that growth mindset. And we're just like, read books, read books, read books. So today I kind of want to walk, and my voice is still gone. I've been coughing all day, so I apologize for that. I sound like a frog. But I found a really good little article on this. And so I kind of want to go down through that. And then I want to give, hold on a second here. I want to give, if I have them, tips on like things you can look for when you're trying to create a growth mindset for yourself. Bear with me here 1 second. I swear I grabbed all of my notes and now they are not all here. So we're going to roll with it. Okay. So a good quote that I heard about this, it's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be. So I think, we read about this a lot, and like, how can we portray this to people? And so many times, a lot of the things you read about mindset, it's all about like, is it talent? Is it skill? Is it ability? Is it willingness to grow? Is it willingness to put time and consistency and effort? And so I think, these things are going to be a really good list for us to go down and talk about. But here is a quote that started with, in one world, effort is a bad thing. It like failure means you're not smart or talented. If you were, you wouldn't need effort. In the other world, effort is what makes you smart or talented. What if your true learning potential was unknown, even unknowable at best? What if it were impossible to foresee what you could accomplish with a few years of passion, toil, and training? This isn't some hypothetical situation dependent on any manner of factors, from genes to environment. It's a mindset, and it's one you can cultivate at any point in life. Any point in life. A growth mindset is pretty much exactly what it sounds like, a tendency to believe that you can grow. And this is opposed to, sorry, there's 3 buses of kids that just showed up at the park. So I'm trying to keep my eyes on everyone. So I'm a little multitasking here, but this is in comparison to a fixed mindset, which assumes that our character, intelligence, and creative ability are static givens, which we can't change in any meaningful way. A growth mindset thrives on challenge and sees failure not as evidence of unintelligence, but as a heartening springboard for growth and for stretching our existing abilities. So like we've been saying all along, it's here, all of it. Like, God gave you everything you need. We have to be willing, though, to put in the time to grow it and develop it, right? So she writes, believing that your qualities are carved in stone creates an urgency to prove yourself over and over. If you have only a certain amount of intelligence, a certain personality, and a certain moral character, well, then you'd better prove that you have a healthy dose of them. It simply wouldn't do to look or feel deficient in these most basic characteristics. The fixed mindset can negatively impact all aspects of your life. I've seen so many people with this one consuming a goal of proving themselves in a learning setting, in their careers, and in their relationships. Every situation calls for a confirmation of their intelligence, personality, or character. Every situation is evaluated. Will I succeed or fail? Will I look smart or dumb? Will I be accepted or rejected? Will I feel like a winner? Will I feel like a loser? But when you start viewing these things as changeable, the situation gives way to a far bigger picture. And this growth mindset is based on the belief that your basic qualities are things you can cultivate through your efforts, which I find super encouraging. I think for me, all along, it's been like up till prove it, or up till my own personal growth. It was like I had to just grow my talents my talents only, almost, like, if that makes sense. Like, I went to law school, and you can be a better mom, you can be better, but it was all through skill based instead of mindset growth, and that opened a whole level of awareness for me, and that's what this is talking about. So although many people differ in every which way in their initial talents and aptitudes, interests, or temperaments, everyone can change it through application and experience. This is important because it can actually change what you strive for and what you see as success. By changing the definition, significance, and impact of failure, you change the deepest meaning of effort. In this mindset, the hand you're dealt is just the starting point for development. I love that. I love that. So how does this apply to learning, and what can we do to help instill this attitude in others? And then I have a list of things that they gave some of the list of things that we can help to do to get this in ourselves and in other people. And then I added some of my own. So I wrote down a little over 20, and I'm just going to give these to you. And then, next week and I want to get your guys' feedback on this, because you've stuck this out for 90 days, which is amazing. 83 days, but almost 90 days. We kind of have 5 days that I haven't planned out really topics. And what I was kind of hoping for is to get your all's feedback that have been on here and see what you guys really want to learn about. If you want to take certain things we've learned and then do them together on the noon Zooms next week, and then Friday I'll kind of close it out. But think about that stuff for next week, and these can be included, these 25 ways to develop growth mindset. So the first one I have is acknowledge and embrace imperfections. Hiding from your weaknesses means you'll never overcome them. And how many of us try to, I heard David Goggins, who's going to be there next week, say double down or triple down on your weaknesses, right? And so many times I think we're like, well, this is what I'm good at, so I'm going to go with that. But I think that comes easy to you. And I've heard Brian talk about this as far as bodybuilding. Like, if you love doing your legs, you're going to do that every time anyhow, because that's your favorite thing to do. But if you hate your arms and you double or triple down on that, that's going to be better, because that's where you're growing up here. That's your weak spot, right? Number 2, view challenges as opportunities. Having a growth mindset means relishing opportunities for self-improvement and learning more about how to fail well, fail forward. Failing is all a part of it. Number 3, try different learning tactics. There's no one-size-fits-all model for learning. And what works for Nayla, what works for Stacy, what works for Pam, what works for Deb, it's all different. And so I think, as much as we can give, here's what you can do, here's how you can do it, here's ways, we all have to find about our own learning strategies and growing up here, right? So the next one, replace the word failing with learning. And Travis has a thing in his jiu-jitsu that I love. It says, I think it's, you never fail, you either learn, you never lose, you either learn or grow, which I love. When you make a mistake or fall short of a goal, you haven't failed, you've learned something. You've only failed if you haven't learned something from it. And I think we can take that. Nick and I have had a few things happen in our life over the time that we've been growing with Prove It. And we recognize that if we don't learn from our situation, then it was almost a failure, because you didn't take anything out of it, right? Like, God is trying to teach us something in our life. And if we're not taking the lesson from it, then we're almost, it's going to happen again, because there's lessons in life that we need to learn before we can grow. So the next one, stop seeking approval. When you prioritize approval over learning, you sacrifice your own potential for growth. I think that one, so many of us are afraid to put ourselves out there when we're trying to learn. But, I found the opposite. I think sometimes you're afraid maybe to post online, or we're afraid to say what we're doing because it's different than anyone else or different than what they're doing. But when you find the lesson in these experiences that you're having, other people want to know that, right? They want to see that. And so it's almost like the approval works backwards. You share what you're learning, and then people are seeing it, but you can't be basing what you're learning on whether other people approve or not. We gotta throw that out. And that's a big emotional step. I get that, but it's huge. It's huge for growth. So I think the next one is value the process over the end result. So, we're smart people on here, right? That's why we're here 83 days in, right? We enjoy the learning process. That's what we have to learn to enjoy and not mind when it continues beyond the expected time. Like when Nick and I, for example, in this business, went rank 7 in 2017. Would we have loved to go 8, 9, 10, 11? Sure. Like in that year. Yeah, of course. Right now. Yeah, of course. But I think you get caught up in the end result and then you're going to miss all the learning in the way. So we have to expect that it's going to take a little longer and just realize that there's growth before you get to that next step. Like that's why you're not there, because we have to learn something in the process. So the next one, cultivate a sense of purpose. I think everyone with a growth mindset or everyone working on that keeps the bigger picture in mind. And that's why I love to go to these events and love to listen to people who are further down the road than I am, because they see the vision and then I can see the vision. And then that helps me keep my sense of purpose when I'm doing the actions day in, day out, day in, day out. All the no's that come, all the not yet, all the we're not there yet, all the nevers, you can keep those. They don't affect you as much if you can see the bigger picture, right? And I think I'm getting charged in here. Okay, next one, celebrate growth with others. So if you are truly trying to grow on this process, I think you will appreciate it so much more when you're sharing your progress. So find someone who's where you're at, or find your coach and let them know what you're learning. Let them know how you're changing. Ask them the questions. Like I've hit stumps before and I would reach out to Brian and just say, I get it. Like in concept, I get it. Like abundance mindset, I get it in concept. But when it comes down to bills and spending, like how do they all mesh? Law school debt. And then he would have to talk me through that or talk me through different things that I didn't understand. It's okay. Celebrate your growth with others. The next one, emphasize growth over speed. And I know I'm going through a lot. So if you guys are writing these or if you're listening and we want to dig in further on some of these, for sure next week is the time to do that. Learning fast isn't the same as learning well. And learning well sometimes requires allowing time for mistakes. And I think this all comes down to applying. And I know that that's something that I have to take into. We read all these books and even with my Bible study, like I'm reading through and every day I'm like, oh man, that's a great lesson. Am I applying it to my life? Am I applying it to my mind? Am I applying it to my business? Because we should be reading way less and applying that than reading 10 books a week and not applying any of it. And so I think that's something we all need to slow down with. Rewarding actions and not traits, right? We want to be doing smart things, not just knowing what to do. And that all plays back into applying all of it. Recognizing that it requires hard work, not just talent. Recognizing that criticism is positive as long as it's constructive and as long as this is something I really had to grow through too. In this growth mindset, you have to recognize and be humble and realize that, other people further ahead than you, they have such good intentions. And like when they, I can remember some Zooms we did and we would get a call from Brian right afterwards. And it was like, oh man, he's about to have it. But we would be in the mindset that like, he's doing that because he wants us to grow. He's telling us, here's ways you can improve. Here's things you did great, that kind of stuff. So criticism is good and we don't have to be scared of it. I think it's something that goes both ways. Criticism doesn't have to just come down. We can all learn from it if we're collaborating that way. The next one is disassociating improvement from failure. And we need to stop thinking of ourselves that room for improvement equals failure. Like you're not failing just because you're not where you want to be yet at all, right? Like failing forward, it's a good thing. Like just because I'm not whatever, like I'm not mom of the year, I'm not the best homeschool mom, I'm not the best leader, I'm not the best whatever, but room for improvement is okay because that means I still have growth, right? The next one, provide regular opportunities for yourself to reflect. So I think that all goes back to that meditation that we committed to yesterday. You can reflect then. You can sit down whenever you take time and say, okay, here's where I have grown. Like, look at your success so far and where you've come in the past year. My voice is starting to go. I'm trying here. I think a growth mindset also comes down to grit. Like look inside yourself and realize there's growth that can happen. And like, if we're going to reverse engineer, so say you set the goals, say you did like the 5 weekly goals, the 5 monthly, whatever we set out as one of the calls to action before. If you want to get there, then we have to reverse engineer that and say, okay, this might take an extra bit of determination, but what's it going to take to get there, right? And that's where that growth comes in. Sorry, my voice is really struggling here. Okay, so the next one, use the word yet, right? I think not yet has become some of our favorite phrases, because when you add that to the end of things, like whenever you see people struggling, or whenever you're struggling, or whenever you're like, I'm not a great leader. I'm not a great leader yet, right? Or I'm not a great recruiter. I'm not a great recruiter yet, right? Because what that tells in your brain is that you can master it. You just haven't mastered it yet. You just have to grow to get there. And so I love that word, because my kids will say, like, I can't ride a bike. All my friends can ride a bike. I can't ride a bike. You can't ride a bike yet. You just have to learn. You just have to practice, right? Like, you're not as good at jiu-jitsu. You're just not as good yet. You just have to go. You have to do, right? You have to dig in. So I love that one. The next one is learning from other people's mistakes. You know, I hate comparing ourselves to others. I think we all do it. We all look at other people and think, what are they doing that we're not? What could I be doing more? You compare, right? But it is important to realize that other humans share the same weaknesses that we do. And so if we can look at people and how they got through their weaknesses, that's a great way to grow and learn without comparing. It's a hard line to draw. It's a hard distinction to make. But I think if we can say, hey, look at their potential and look at what they're doing as something we can become, and then use how they handle their different areas or their different weaknesses to grow, instead of saying, why am I not there? And what are they doing different, in a bad sense. And I think the next one, I just have a couple more. Thank goodness. Make a new goal for every goal accomplished. So realizing that you'll never be done learning. And I think Nick and I really have to sit down and come up with some goals, because in the beginning we came out of the gate with some high ones, like getting him out of his job, bringing him home, homeschooling. And now it's like, we've hit those. Did we not recreate new goals once we hit the first ones? Now it's been like, just grow bigger, help more people. Maybe we need to sit down and get refocused. And I think people with growth mindset are learning how to constantly make new goals and keep yourself stimulated. Take risks in the company of others, I think, is a good one. Stop trying to look all the time. Like, stop trying to save your face all the time. It's okay to goof up. It's okay to take risks, because then you show the people doing this with you that it's okay. If they take risks and fail, you're here. If they take risks and succeed, celebrate. Like, it's all okay to do it together. Staying realistic about time and effort. Remember that it takes time to learn. It takes time to grow, and don't expect to master every single thing in one sitting. Like, pick one thing, master it. Pick one thing, master it. Like, think how far along you'd be, as opposed to trying to master a million things at one time. And the last one I have is take ownership over your attitude. And I know that this is something that I'm constantly growing on. Reacting. How are you reacting instead of responding? I am a responder. Or in the past, I'll say in the past, I was a responder. Like, Nick always knew, give me 10 minutes, give me 20 minutes. I need to flip out, and then I'll respond in a more appropriate manner. But it's like, once you develop this growth mindset, own it. Acknowledge that you are someone who possesses a growth mentality, and be proud to let it guide you through this career, right? And so the more you're growing, own that. And I think sometimes in our everyday life, that can be hard. Or when you bring on new promoters and maybe they're not working on their mindset, or they don't even think they need to, and you're replying with all this knowledge that you have when they don't even think it's cool. You're like, man, I've grown so much in a year. And they're like, cool, I don't even need that. Like, I'm just really good at sales. And you're like, oh, okay, well, what happens when the sales stops, or the recruiting stops, or someone's super mean or negative, and you try to pour it on? But meet them where they're at and realize that you're just helping them through the same journey you've gone through. So, your call to action today, I think I have to send some topics you want to teach on next week, and then walk through these steps and figure out one step this weekend that can help you move towards a growth mindset. And then on Monday, we will hop in for our final week of this 90-day run, and we will jump into I'll probably do some Q&As. We'll probably do some boiler rooms on specific topics, and then we will be headed to Kentucky. So thank you guys all for tuning in, and I will see you on Monday.